Devil worship in France. Are the question of Lucifer, a record of things seen and heard in the secret societies according to the evidence of initiates. And the first in this plot was Lucifer. So chapter 4 of this book by A.E.Waite is Ex Or Leonis, or Leoni, Ex Or Leoni, perhaps. Again, the instruction of the fifth degree contains more plagiarisms from Levi, and in a section entitled Evocations, Leotaxel again reproduces the conjuration of the four, which he has previously fathered on the right of Memphis about Misraim, and now states to be in use among Platists. Once more he prints a long list of the spirits of light, which Palladians recommend for evocation, and in this list is a haphazard gleaning among the 84 genii of the 12 hours given in Levi's interpretation of the Nunc Temeron, according to Apollonius. Apollonius of Tyre? Is this one of the four? Are they referring to one of the four characters which we call Jesus? Well, when I say Jesus, I typically don't mean Apollonius of Tyre, but the Bible does. But these latter points are not arguments which necessarily reflect upon Leotaxel, for, seeing that the new and reformed Palladium was constituted in 1870, it is obvious that the author of the rituals may have drawn from the French Magus, and Leotaxel does connect the Palladium as others have connected it with Alphonse Louis Constant, Eliphas Levi, particularly through Phileas Walder, his disciple, and partially by representing Constant as the leader of an occult association of Knights Kadosh. But when he represents Constant as himself a Mason, we have to remember that Eliphas Levi explicitly denied his initiation in his Histoire de la Magie. I should add that Leotaxel, in one of the illustrations, represents a lodge of the Templar Mistress Rite, wherein the altar is overshadowed by a Baphomet, which is a reduction in facsimile of the frontispiece to Levi's ritual, and all reasonable limits seem to be transgressed when he quotes from Albert Pike's Collection of Secret Initiations, an extended passage which swarms with thefts from the same source, every one of which I can identify, when required, showing them page by page in the originals. Leotaxel tells us that the collection was communicated to him, but by whom he does not say. We are evidently dealing with an exceedingly complex question, and many points must be made clear before we can definitely accept evidence which is so mixed and uncertain in character. And, as it may be shown, that the rose du parfait silence. Silence. March 14th, 1861 was when, Alphonse Louis Constant was made a Freemason. And come on, if we don't know the individual, if we can't testify as to who is giving the witness, how can we condemn a person or group? If we ask the author of these disclosures what opportunities he has to become personally acquainted with Masonry, we shall find that they are exceedingly few, for he was expelled from the order after receiving only the first degree. I do not say that this expulsion reflects in any sense discreditably upon him as a man of honor, but it closed his Masonic career almost as soon as it had begun, so that his title to speak rests only on his literary researches and other forms of derived knowledge, good enough, no doubt, in their way, but not so exhaustive as could be wished in view of the position he had assumed. It was shortly after this episode that Leo Taxil returned to the Catholic Church and attached himself to the interest of the clerical party. Previously to his literary history must be for him a painful memory. He was a writer of anti-clerical romances and the editor of an anti-clerical newspaper, legitimate occupations in one sense, but in this instant too frequently connected with literary methods of a gravely discreditable kind. A catalogue of defunct librari anti-clerical is added to one of the romances, and advertises, among other productions of the same pen, the following contributions made by Leo Taxil to the literature of sacrilege and scandal. First, A Life of Jesus, being an instructive and satirical parody of the Gospels, with 500 comic designs. Second, The Comic Bible, Bible Amusant. Third, The Debaucheries of a Confessor, a romance filled on the affair of the Jesuit Gerard and Catherine Cadier. Fourth, A Female Pope, being the adventures and crimes of Pope Joanne, written in collaboration with F. Lafont. Fifth, The Pope's Mistress, a grand historical romance, written in collaboration with Carl Milo. Sixth, Pius IX, before history, his life, political and pontifical, his debaucheries, follies, and crimes. 3 volumes. Seventh, The Poisoner, Leo XIII, on account of thefts, poisoning, committed with the complacency of the present pontiff. Eighth, Contemporary Prostitution, a collection of revolting statistics upon, inter alia, the methods, habits, and physical peculiarities of persons who practice pederasty. And, okay, if we look at it for realness, the clergy, both the Catholics and otherwise, have a lesser rates of these crimes than the other people. But paying somebody to have less affairs and less children is, if it's still happening among them, that's something they need to completely deal with. They need to not be, we're a little better than everybody else, so you should pay us your tithing. That's a problem. But this guy is so filled, Leo Taxil, so filled with his fantasies of wickedness and focus on wickedness and try to pull out every story and that derived, probably seemingly, no matter how weak the narration, But there is stuff going on now. I'm not talking about boys and girls. I'm talking about there was in Scotland or Ireland. There was a recent story where it was proclaimed as, it was a satanic thing. It was like, no, a bunch of priests had a bunch of young people over, and the drunk men who were left behind by their friends were raped by the priest. That's was done by Christians. It wasn't some satanic orgy. Now you can say demonism. Some will say the sorcery, the ritual use of alcoholic beverages and stuff in the Bible, and in church services. Some use other drugs. It doesn't really matter which drug it is. It's still technically sorcery. Flies flat in the face of Galatians 5 and its list of things that you're damnable if you do. But Christianity is defined not so much as other faiths, but Christianity is defined as, it's done in the name of Jesus. So as long as you worship Jesus somehow, you're Christian. So, and particularly if you to strengthen it with, they got some link to the Bible. But let me finish this before I ramble on. It will be seen that since his conversion, our author has changed his objects without altering his methods. As in the past, he unveiled the supposed ill-doings of popes and priests, as he exposed the corrupt practices of Parisian police. Parisian police, in the matter of crying social evils. So now he divulges the infamies of Masonic gatherings in the present. He claimed then to be actuated by high motive and claims it now. We must not deny the motive, but certainly abhor the proceeding. In some very, the mention of evil for entertainment, there's a way to address things. In some very curious memoirs, which we have obtained wide circulation, Leo Taxil acknowledges that he was gravely mistaken then, as he may be mistaken now. It must also be respectively stated in conclusion that few persons who have contributed to lubricity, I'm having trouble talking today for some reason, in literature have ever failed to speak otherwise than from an exalted standpoint. When a short time ago M. Huysmans went in search of a type to which he could refer Luciferian blasphemies and outrages, he could find nothing more suitable to his purpose than Leo Taxil's Bouf, Jesus. Buffet Jesus? I don't know how we were supposed to say that. We do not refuse to accept him as a witness against Masonry because of these facts, but we must ask him as an honorable gentleman not to insist that we should do so on trust at the present moment. The only opportunities which he has given us to check his statements do not wholly encourage us to accept them. It will be said, therefore, that the knowledge of Palladian Masonry was first brought to light under circumstances of a debatable kind. And so we, the Western world and its sense of history, if you're going to exclude the, North Africa, parts of Europe and whatnot that include the Islamic world, the sense of strength of its historical narratives wasn't what you'd expect. Pretty much everything, you're looking at is going to be graded weak. In what the Islamic scholars would grade a historical event. So this evil for entertainment has been coupled more. Okay, yes, life has become a valueless thing without spiritual connection for so many people. That factors into far more crime than technology ever did. Yes, the secular world's killing more than the so-called tenfold what Christendom ever did. And even individual Christians, to add everything up, the worst estimates. And perhaps about 80% of that is what the rest of the faiths have done. But, it's, shock and awe entertainment, and you get drunk watching the TV. I've seen elderly people. I've seen an elderly woman watch a television show, and after that television show, the bang 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 shooting them up. I don't even know. It was some cop show or something, but they usually shoot people, and in real life, they're probably trained. They should be trained to, kind of avoid that, right? Or Chicago PD has some. Sometimes the person's innocent that they torture and kill. Sometimes they're not. They're not. I mean, in reality, that's how things would be. I don't remember any specific incident of the show where the person. People watch this and they think, oh, that's a lot of fun, and oh, I can get away with it, and they're just, rather than focusing on what they should do and what they can do in life, they kind of bring this out. Undeveloped, uncontrolled. Their sense of attention span and self-control is like not there, because it's wasting their time as their life, and that's what's producing, in America, chief of all, but elsewhere too, the criminal and perverted element. Now, I did a show on criminal and perverted Satanism, and I don't mean, when I was looking at that, discovery of M. Ricou, Ricous, and Lux et Nox, Nox et Lux.